Have you ever just looked up at the sky and wondered, how did all of this even get here? Our world, our home, where did it come from? Well, today we're going to travel back in time, and I mean way back, 4.6 billion years to be exact, to see the absolutely epic, violent, and incredible story of how the Earth was born. It's a story that starts with cosmic dust and a whole lot of fire.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty wild idea. What if I told you that everything you're standing on, everything you see, was literally forged in the chaos of one of the most violent events the universe can cook up? It sounds like something out of a movie, I know, but believe it or not, that's the real story of how our planet got its start. To really get this, you have to completely change how you think about time. We're talking 4.6 billion years ago. It's a number so huge it's hard to even wrap your head around it. Back then, there was no Earth, no sun, not even a solar system. There was just potential, I guess you could say, waiting in the vast darkness of space.
So yeah, to understand how our solar system came to be, we have to rewind to a time before it even existed. Let's call this chapter Before the Beginning.
Okay. So picture this, a huge, dark, and super cold region of space. And just floating there is this gigantic cloud, a nebula, made of gas and tiny bits of dust. It was mostly hydrogen and helium. You know, the basic stuff the universe is made of, just kind of hanging out, drifting for ages and ages.
For millions of years, this cosmic cloud was just chillin', perfectly balanced and quiet. But that peace, well, it wasn't gonna last. Because then, something big happened. And that something was an event on a scale that is just almost impossible to imagine. Somewhere nearby, a giant star reached the end of its life, and it was about to go out in a serious blaze of glory. It went supernova. And look, this wasn't just a little pop. We are talking about an explosion of unbelievable power. It unleashed these colossal shockwaves of energy and heavy elements, the very seeds of future planets, and sent them hurtling through space, straight for our quiet, unsuspecting cloud.
So that explosion, that was the trigger. It was like a cosmic alarm clock. The shockwaves smashed into that nebula, completely messed up its quiet balance, and kicked off a chain reaction that would end up building our entire solar system. Now, gravity could finally start doing its thing, gathering up all that dust.
So here's how it all went down. First, those shockwaves squeezed parts of the cloud into these really dense pockets. Then, gravity takes over, right? It just starts pulling in more and more stuff. The very center of this collapsing cloud gets insanely hot and dense until, boom, nuclear fusion ignites and our sun is born. All the leftover stuff flattened out into the spinning disk around the new sun, where tiny particles started bumping into each other and sticking together, first making pebbles, then boulders, and eventually the building blocks of planets.
All right, let's just do a quick recap of this massive cosmic construction project. We start with that giant cloud, 4.6 billion years ago. A few million years later, the supernova gives it the jolt it needs. Then, over the next 10 to 20 million years, this process called accretion, where all the little bits start clumping together to make bigger things, really gets going.
Now let's zoom in on just one of those countless rocks spinning around the new sun, the one that was destined to become our home. Because its birth was anything but gentle. It was violent. This was a world on fire.
The young Earth basically grew through non-stop chaotic collisions. Every asteroid and rock that smashed into it added more material and generated an unbelievable amount of heat, enough to keep the entire planet molten. I want you to really picture that. Not a solid world, but a glowing, global ocean of lava where it was hot enough to literally vaporize rock.
Now, while Earth was this big ball of liquid rock, something really fundamental happened. We call it the Great Separation. It's actually pretty simple physics, just on a planetary scale. All the heaviest stuff, like iron and nickel, sank right through the molten lava toward the center of the planet. And the lighter materials, the silicates that make up rock, they floated toward the top. This is how Earth got its super dense metallic core, its iron heart, and the rocky mantle and crust we all live on today.
Okay, so after the constant bombardment finally started to slow down, and the planet's core was formed, Earth entered a whole new phase. It actually started to cool off. And in doing that, it started to look a little bit more like the planet we know. This is the part of the story where the sky is born. So as the surface cooled, a solid crust started to form. But underneath, the planet was still a churning, super hot engine. Volcanoes were erupting everywhere, just spewing out massive amounts of gases from inside the Earth. This created our planet's very first atmosphere. And, critically, one of those gases was a ton of water vapor. Eventually, that vapor condensed and fell as rain,
a non-stop, planet-wide downpour that might have lasted for thousands of years. And that rain is what eventually formed Earth's first massive oceans.
When you just step back and look at the whole sequence of events, it's just incredible. From a quiet cloud of dust, to a star exploding, to a gravitational collapse, a fiery ball of lava, and finally a dynamic water world with a sky above it. I mean, this is the ultimate creation story.
But really, the formation of the planet, that was just setting the stage. The most amazing part of the story, the most mind-blowing chapter, was still to come. So make sure you join us next time when we dive into the birth of life itself.